So, a little over 10 years ago, my family and I moved from Alexandria, Virginia to Guanacaste, Costa Rica. And, I like to say I was the digital nomad before there were digital nomads or before it was a cool thing, long before the pandemic. Truth was, there were plenty of people down here back then, and there's definitely the wealthy, the people who can just afford to move their lives or spend half a year there and so on. And we run into a lot of people like that. But you know what? There's a fair share number of people who are still working for a living, and so I wanted to kind of talk about what that's like running a business and the reality of living where everybody else vacations. So, living in paradise, working from the beach, drinking from coconuts, sounds perfect, right? Well, not exactly. People assume living in Costa Rica means that I am sitting on a beach with my umbrella drink and basically literally phoning it in. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So, what is the truth? I still run a business, work US hours, and deal with everyday life like anyone else. So, let's talk about the reality of living where others vacation. I work East Coast hours. So my business was founded and is still headquartered in Virginia, or as I like to say, Washington, D.C., because that is where my network is. That is where most of my clients are. And so I work East Coast hours, 9 to 5. So am I pulling a 9 to 5? Kind of. But most days I'm at my desk, or at least I'm close to my desk. And the truth is, I have friends who are out surfing or already at the bar in the early afternoon. You know, retired expats and wealthy remote workers don't get why I can't drop everything and meet them at the bar at 2 p.m. And that can be incredibly frustrating. Just because I live here doesn't mean I'm on vacation. I still have deadlines, meetings, and clients that depend on me. And the truth is just to be cold about it, is that I depend on them. I am not a wealthy expat who can surf all day and hit the bars in the early afternoon. I've got to make a living. I've got a family to support. I've got to pay, my rent, my taxes, my everything. We have costs, and it's a fact of life of a working man, I guess. So I can only speak to working from Costa Rica, and the some of the things that come with that are many struggles. The first one that comes to mind, of course, is internet. I'm a web developer and I host websites, and all my services are cloud-based, and everything I use is cloud-based. And without internet activity, I literally have nothing to do. So that becomes my sole focus. My absolute obsession is connectivity. It drives my family crazy. We can't even drive around within Costa Rica without me making sure that the internet speeds where we're going are going to be good enough. And I say that because if we were to go, travel around, drive the shore, or whatever, when you stay at places, they all say Wi-Fi included. But oftentimes that means like a 5 megabyte line that's shared with other guests, and it's simply unusable. And I can't be in a situation where I have a client who has a dire situation, or I have a server with problems, or whatever it may be, and all I have is a shared 5 megabyte line. Well, obviously that's not going to cut it. So that kind of brings up Costa Rica infrastructure. The 5 megabyte line at the vacation spots, well, that's just when we go on vacation locally. And, that's just the Airbnb owners being cheap. But let's talk about Costa Rica's infrastructure. Many areas still rely on 3G. So that means making work happen in between stops almost impossible. I've tried, and in really tight urgent situations. I've been able to do a few things, but it's not something you can rely on at all. And the one big trick about this is that when you're up in the US and you're looking at a country like Costa Rica, you're going to see high-speed internet, great internet, high-speed internet, free Wi-Fi, whatever, advertised everywhere. But that doesn't mean it's not the cheapest plan, the slowest plan, or the connection is at all reliable. So always staying connected is what I am focused on. I cannot afford to be offline for more than a few minutes, really. And so I have to have a well-planned trip. And when it comes to living here, I have to plan my home office around a primary solution and a backup solution and a backup to that backup solution and so on. The reality is it's not all beach days. In fact, there are very few beach days. I can look out my office window here and I am still blown away today with this 180-degree beautiful view of the Pacific Ocean, but I don't get to sit on the beach. I think you can guess, sand and laptops do not mix. Daily life still happens. Bills, errands, and work, like client demands, just don't disappear because I live in a vacation spot. Time zones and schedules matter. Just because it's sunny outside, which it is almost every day, doesn't mean I can ditch my responsibilities. So when you're on vacation, and we see it all the time, it's funny, we'll hang out at the local restaurants and bars, and we meet vacationers all the time who, well, they don't want to leave. They're like, wow, and they start to, wow, you work here? This is incredible. I want to move here, blah, blah. We start talking about the whole thing. But my biggest message to anyone considering doing the digital nomad thing and moving to a place like Costa Rica is that when you're on vacation, it can be about relaxation. But when you live here, it's real life with better scenery and monkeys overhead. But reality is still ever present. So Costa Rica is an amazing place, but at the end of the day, I still have a business to run and clients to support. It's not all hammocks and cocktails. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but I also wouldn't fool anyone into thinking that it's super easy and there are no challenges.